Hi, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the PlayPosit broadcast webinar today. It is 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We are going to get ready to get started here in just a few moments. I'll give just 1 or 2 more minutes for you to grab a cup of water or finish up any tasks before we get started. And this will also give other attendees a chance to get in. So we'll get started here in just the next minute or two. And happy you're here and joining us for the PlayPosit broadcast webinar today. Okay, thank you everyone for being here. Looks like we have a solid crew of you here on the call today. So we'll go ahead and get started. Of course, here at PlayPosit, all of our webinars are recorded and will be here within your StreamYard archive to review at any time if you registered or do register in the future. So even if you have friends that are planning on coming to the PlayPosit webinar, just let them know that they can rewatch the recording if they miss any parts from the beginning. So we're going to go ahead and get started with some housekeeping items. To begin, I'm going to share here in the chat a handout that is going to kind of serve as a resource for in time support for the items that I am going to share. But then also, this is going to be a resource that you can return to after our call today, after the webinar. So essentially, this can really be something that you return to be supportive of the concepts that we talk about in today's webinar. Alrighty, so it would be really helpful, especially since we're only 2 or so minutes into the webinar, if you wouldn't mind quickly using the chat function here on the right hand side of your screen or in the bottom navigation bar to let us know what your experiences with PlayPosit. You saw in the email that was shared out as the reminder newsletter before the webinar today that the broadcast functionality is not historically a beginner function for PlayPosit or use of the tool. However, we are happy that you are here. We have resources for you, whether you are a new PlayPosit user or an established user. But I do just want to make sure that we have a majority of experienced users here on the call today so that we can dive into the demo. All right, awesome. So just from the chat, I'm seeing there's lots of twos, meaning that you've used PlayPosit before, and even some threes. That's incredible. Sarah, thank you for being here, and Tony, PlayPosit experts here on the call today. Okay, you're going to notice as we move through today's webinar. Hi, Christine. Thank you for being here. You're going to notice on today's webinar that you are absolutely encouraged and welcome to use this chat for questions, comments, concerns. I myself am monitoring the chat to try to answer as many of your questions that come through live if they don't take us too far off topic. But we also have some of our awesome PlayPosit CSMs here on the call to support you. And they will be here in the chat to follow up with resources and answer your questions very promptly in case I'm unable to do so live. So let's go ahead and get started. So I bet you're wondering who I am. My name is Madison Price. I am a customer success manager here at PlayPosit. Some of you that are here on the call, your names look very familiar. I support you in the institutions, most likely higher ed, that have a relationship with us here at PlayPosit. I am a former educator myself. You will notice that a lot of the recommendations today do come from a position of sharing about my personal experience with the broadcast function and how I use PlayPosit's broadcast function to serve different purposes in the classroom, and then also how I've seen other institutions find value in the synchronous deployment method of broadcast. So, just a personal note, I'm zooming in today from a very strange and snowy Charleston, South Carolina. If any of you are familiar with what's going on with this historic weather event that's happening here in the South, I am really excited to have 5 o'clock come and get to go outside and finish building my snowman. But thank you guys for being here wherever you're zooming in from today, or I should say StreamYarding in from today. We're going to have some fun learning about PlayPosit's broadcast functionality. And then hopefully you have like a nice warm cup of like cocoa or coffee ready to go as we share our time together today. Okay. Speaking of broadcast and what the journey will be today, this is a glance at our session agenda. I think it's a lot of fun. Broadcast is one of my favorite uses of the tool because it really does not take new creation to utilize PlayPosit's broadcast functionality. You can actually take um, old PlayPosit content or even new PlayPosit content that you have created for asynchronous deployment, self-paced deployment, and use that very same content to deploy live. So that's why I love this functionality because it can be an additional build for you as an instructional designer or as an instructor, but it also can be a matter of just knowing how to repurpose the content that you already have. Okay, I'm gonna walk through the synchronous broadcast functionality as it pertains to the overall PlayPosit concept. So, where does broadcast fall in the largeness of PlayPosit interactions and assigning in the LMS? And with that, I'm gonna show you a few broadcast experiences and the benefits of using broadcast. I'm going to showcase some of the analytics that come along with broadcast, and then most importantly, I'm going to spend some time sharing with you about the LMS versus the non-LMS workflow, what those two look like, and how to set you up for success when you are creating your own broadcast assignments. We will save time for a short live demo at the end, walking you through the non-LMS workflow. So if you are planning to walk through the LMS or non-LMS workflow, I would just encourage you to use this initial PlayPosit overview to get logged into your PlayPosit account so that we're able to very easily begin that live demo and make the most of that demonstration time. All right. So, as always, we do like to give a pretty foundational overview of PlayPosit. Even if you're a 2 or a 3, it's good to kind of know where PlayPosit falls within it all. So, at its core, PlayPosit is an instructional design studio. So, that means that all of these videos, whether they are created in YouTube, Vimeo, Panopto, Kaltura, wherever they're created, they're pulled into our instructional design studio so that you're able to take the learning process from being a very passive video watching experience for the learner to adding interactions, building in resource enhanced video, and making it a very active assignment or experience for your learner. On the back end of all of that are going to be metrics that allow you to glean insight into the learner experience and understand best the learner outcome and why the learner outcome essentially is what it is. for individual students within your coursework. Okay, so again, nothing new here. You're still able to utilize all the incredible instructional design features of PlayPosit when you're building a broadcast assignment, but this is just laying the groundwork again for what you should know is PlayPosit's powerful interactive functionality. So when you go into PlayPosit, you'll see again that you can add all the different interaction types. So whether it be multiple choice, fill in the blank, check all, and you're doing that same exact function when you are building PlayPosit bulbs to be deployed through broadcast. It's just the modality is changing of how you deploy the bulb. So the end product is exactly the same. The bulb result remains. Even linking that bulb within an LMS remains, but the only thing that is different is that where traditional bulbs are assigned to be self-paced, where the learner is taking the bulb at their own pace, you're getting all this rich engagement data because one student is spending 25 seconds on the multiple choice interaction and another student is spending 25 minutes on the multiple choice interaction. When you deploy a bulb via broadcast, you as the instructor are controlling the pace and it is in a live environment. Some instructors do use broadcast virtually. There's a bit of a larger learning curve for that because it requires cooperation with your web conferencing system and setup. And we know that there are now so many different types of web conferencing structures, Teams, Zoom, Google Meet. So that may be an additional learning curve there. But best practice for synchronous delivery is sharing those bulbs in a live environment. And as the instructor, whether you're an instructional designer that will be supporting the instructor that deploys the broadcast bulb, or whether you yourself are an instructor that's wanting to utilize broadcast, you are controlling the pace, and the learners are engaging with the bulb on either their laptop or they're using a handheld device, which is really the power of the synchronous delivery structure. Additionally, we will get to this further on, but synchronous delivery broadcast, if you have an institutional license or a district-wide license, it is not contained to just the classroom. So one of the use cases you're going to hear me reference in today's webinar is the use of broadcast for conferencing or the use of broadcast for team meetings. So even thinking about using broadcast as a non-academic or non-traditional course tool is very much a best practice or a strong use case for deploying a broadcast bulb. But now you're able to see how broadcast fits into the entirety of the PlayPosit ecosystem here. So again, 4 different ways to deploy PlayPosit bulbs. Broadcast is where we're spending our time today. This just makes it a little bit more clear what I was mentioning at the beginning as to why the broadcast deployment function is actually very easy. No need to be intimidated or worried. You can actually take those self-paced bulbs that you have created and just assign them via the broadcast workflow. So let's say that video assignment, the bulb that was self-paced that the learner was watching and interacting with last week before they came to class, and they received a grade and the grade was passed back to the grade book. Maybe this week you noticed that learner scores were a little bit lower as the instructor and learner outcomes were a little bit lower and missing the mark than you anticipated for that specific video content. You may decide that this week in your lecture, you want to take that bulb and you want to project that video content at the front of your classroom and you want your students to use their devices to interact in real time with the interactive components while you add additional commentary. And that only takes the reassigning of that same exact bulb that you assigned last week, but just a little bit of a different workflow. And that technicality is really what we're going to talk about here in the next few slides when we talk about how to assign a broadcast bulb. So really, broadcast can be the difference between that asynchronous learning experience, pre-work, flipped classroom models, and then direct instruction. So taking the bulb and making it a live experience for the learner. In case there are things that you want to model, another great use case that I have seen be effective is pairing an interactive broadcast bulb with a live demonstration. So if you are a faculty member or an instructor, that there may be a live component to your coursework, whether it be a chemistry lab or maybe it's a like a physics demonstration. Those things can be paired in real time with the broadcast bulb so that you're able to collect all of the learner data, keep the student engaged, and have learners participate in a live demonstration. Just as a reminder before we kind of move forward in the overview of the experience and steps to take to link a broadcast bulb, we do have an awesome PlayPosit CSM here in the chat. So if you would like to ask questions or if anything seems unclear, please feel free to use that incredible resource that we have at our disposal here in the chat. Okay. Moving forward, let's talk about the broadcast experience, what to expect, and hopefully give you a little bit of a better visual on what the broadcast setup can look like. Um, Something that you are going to see, let me move this forward just a bit. Something that you're going to see in this video resource that is linked within the resource guide is that most faculty instructors that use PlayPosit in this way have assigned the bulb, like they have done a bit of like setup before the course, like the class begins, before the lecture begins. So you're going to set this up inside or outside of the LMS, just depending on if you're wanting the broadcast bulb to have a gradebook item and utilize that gradebook passback that happens whenever a student takes an asynchronous bulb. Um, so that is one thing to note, is that there is a little bit of pre-work, just like assigning an asynchronous bulb before this learner is going to engage with the asynchronous assignment in your LMS. Again, the teacher or the instructor is controlling the pace. So you're kind of seeing this here, this instructor in this video, even though this is a bit of a kind of animated view, you're seeing that the PlayPosit bulb in the video and the question is here on the screen, but the instructor is giving a bit of additional commentary. So they are controlling the pace, they're adding additional lecture material. And while they are doing this, the learner input or the learner answers to the given interaction are loading in real time into the screen that you can see here. We will talk more about the features that are appearing beneath the interactions here on the screen, but just know that learners' privacy is something that we highly value here at PlayPosit. And so something that you will notice is that as an instructor, you only have to display learner names for the answers that they have submitted in real time if you choose to do so. You can allow them to remain hidden. And again, that is all a part of the teacher control, the teacher experience over what they're saying and how they are wanting to display the learner outcomes or the learner inputs to the interactions, the answer submissions. All right, so moving right along, one use case that you might consider, and this is a use case that I personally highly valued as an instructor, is that whenever my TA or my substitute was there in the classroom when I couldn't be, I could very easily set up a broadcast assignment, and the learners, of course, the instructor, the TA or the substitute was able to trigger or begin the broadcast assignment, but learners were completing that even when I couldn't be there in the classroom. Um, if there was a lot of time in advance, sometimes the video content that plays on the screen would be a pre-recorded lecture that I had previously set up, added to a bulb, added interactions, and then linked as a broadcast bulb. And then there was accountability that the learners were completing the assignment and listening to the lecture, and learning was able to happen even though I was not in the classroom. Okay, real-time data to inform instructional decisions. This was huge with using broadcast for me, and it is a newer functionality because now there are clear graphs, analytical graphs, just like in the monitor page, like in bulb analytics, that show you in real time how the learners are performing on each individual interaction. You can download those graphs. You can also come back to it and traditionally monitor the learner experience, but that is also something to consider, is that you aren't risking the loss of learner data when it comes to using broadcast versus the asynchronous deployment method. Okay, so broadcasting does allow for you, like I mentioned, to bring flexibility into a synchronous approach. So it can be utilized for those large in-person lectures or small classroom discussion groups. This can also be used for station rotation models and even via remote conferencing with students. So like, let's say you wanted to have learners that were in the classroom engaging in the broadcast bulb. You could also have learners access the LMS assignment from home and be zooming them in so that they are watching the video and engaging at home if there's a reason that they need to be remote. The broadcast application is great when you're wanting to utilize PlayPosit for in the moment. The real time application is awesome for learners. You're going to be facilitating learning in real time instead of just letting the learners kind of be released to complete the assignments in the classroom at their own pace, which can sometimes be a little disorienting for the learners. Sometimes there is added educational benefits and learning benefits to have the learners completing the assignment all together. If you're someone like I was that wanted to encourage a lot of discussion and discourse around question types, this is a modality that allows for you to support and build in discussion without there needing to necessarily be a question associated with that. So it can kind of feed off of whatever the question or the interaction was that was built into the bulb. Um, we can go ahead and take a look at some of those broadcast analytics that I was mentioning. Live graphs, multiple choice, check all, and poll interaction, demonstrating the learner's responses and their performance on those questions that are built into the bulb. Um, you can also click to be able to see the analytics and download, like you can see here, copy the image, save the image, And as an instructor, you get to decide about, instructional decisions based on in time data that you are seeing with learners who are in your classroom, like physical classroom, or remote and answering in real time. Okay, here on the left-hand side, you are getting a glimpse as well at the small difference in user interface between the broadcast bulb experience and the self-paced bulb experience. So here you're seeing the poll question that's coming through. Of course, all the interaction types are going to transfer over. The only thing that is not supported in broadcast that I should mention, that I do want to mention, is question banks. So question banks are not supported in broadcast because the learners are having a simultaneous experience with a single interaction. So that data needs to be consistent, and the interaction that is appearing on the whiteboard or on the smartboard needs to be consistent with the question that the student is answering on their device. So question banks are not supported. Just be aware of that whenever you are assigning some of maybe your old PlayPosit content. That if it has question banks built in, if that's a part of your license, you'll want to be sure that you maybe remove the question banks in a version of that bulb. Maybe you copy the bulb and make a broadcast friendly version of that bulb without question banks. Additionally, if you have any branching built in, branching is another thing, the jumps and the skips, that's something that it's not necessarily a best practice. So just something to be aware of when you are choosing to build in broadcast in assignments, is that branching and question banks kind of need to be evaluated, and of course test out the learner experience before you have your learners engage with it through learner preview. So here you're seeing that poll question that is built in here. The learner will see this poll question on the screen along with the video, but they'll also on their device see this poll question. On average, how many cups of coffee do you have per day? The learner can choose like, oh, 1 to 3, more than 6. If it's a day like today where it's really cold outside and I'm trying to stay warm, I'm definitely here at the more than 6 level. I hope there's no judgment going on in the audience. But once I submit that answer as a learner, then I will see that this number increases as the instructor. Once a learner submits their response, this number will increase. And you will notice with this graph, you are getting all of the learner data without violating learner privacy. So the numbers are coming through without having the learner's name attached. So all of this is safe to have on your front screen. At some point, if you wanted to hide the analytics because maybe you didn't want the learners to see as those questions are coming in or answers are coming in, you can hide the analytics. If you did want to show the responses to see who answered what, you could click show responses and the names associated with those 5 responses would appear. If at any time you feel like you need to refresh, you can refresh, and like you see here, it's going to show the most recent and up-to-date version of that data. Um, and then also you'll see that you can export that image. That is a valuable asset in the broadcast analytics view. Additionally, just as a side note, we'll talk about this more in the live demo, but here you're getting a glimpse at a little blue pin button. This is what I like to think of as the broadcast pause button. So sometimes when I was an instructor, I would notice that as I was giving instructions, my learners were talking or they were distracted. And I knew that I needed my learners to listen, mainly so I didn't find myself repeating myself, but I needed them to hear what I was saying. So sometimes I wanted to pin the interaction while it can't be answered. You then release the pin and the interaction can be answered by the learner. So they'll receive a message on their screen that says no interaction to view, but the learner may still see the interaction on the front screen, and then you can release that interaction back to them so that they can engage with the question. That's a great question, Andrea. Right now, hiding analytics by default um, is not a functionality because analytics have been so highly requested for years. But like I said, there's actually no student data that is being, I guess, there's no student data that's being shared in the analytics um, view. So when you click share analytics or show analytics, that will trigger the chart. But before that, you won't see the analytics appear. So it is a button that you have to click. It's not going to automatically appear, and it's not going to automatically appear with learner data name name data associated. But in terms of like removing hide analytics from the interactions, that's just not something that we have built into the functionality. All right, moving right along, let's talk about how do you use broadcast. There are two ways that you can set up a broadcast assignment inside of your LMS or outside of your LMS. Truly, one of the reasons that I love broadcast webinars so much is because this is truly the largest kind of learning curve to learning how to set up a broadcast assignment is deciding how do you want to assign it inside or outside of the LMS, and then taking the steps to actually link the bulb the right way. So again, you're seeing here, yes, broadcast, you have your bulb, you can assign it inside of the LMS, whether it be Blackboard, Canvas, Schoology, D2L, or maybe a specific LMS to your institution or district. And then inside of the LMS, the perks of using the LMS workflow, the learner's grade is automatically going to, the learner's name, apologies, is going to automatically be authenticated. So that is also going to tie to the learner grade book. So broadcast bulbs can be for awarding learners points and an overall grade. So that gradebook passback functionality is available when you link this through the LMS. Additionally, it can help if you're wanting to give feedback to learners. So you can go into the monitor page after the broadcast is over, you can give feedback, and then that is where you can see also how the learner was engaged with the experience and their name associated. So I may see that Drayton was in the broadcast, and I can see through the monitor page that he answered 5 of the 10 interactions, and then there's blanks for the 5 interactions in the bulb. And I noticed maybe as the instructor that the total learner number on the broadcast went down by 1 when I was deploying the broadcast live in the class, but I didn't know who it was that was no longer in the bulb. That monitor page is going to tell you everything you need to know about who stayed in the bulb, who was engaged, how did they perform, and that is helpful information to know in case you're wondering, how do I know if my learner drops out of the broadcast and just sits in the lecture and doesn't engage with the broadcast bulb? That's how. You have all of the same data in the monitor page. Okay, outside of the LMS. So let's talk about what happens if you decide that you want to, in your staff, your faculty meeting, you want to deploy a broadcast bulb that tells all of the teachers that they are getting I don't know, a goodie bag, and this is what they need to do in order to get their goodie bag. So you may see in your PlayPosit account, and you may have been curious before, that there is a class tab on the navigation bar on the left-hand side. I'm going to show you today how you use that classes tab to create your own PlayPosit LMS where you're going to assign the broadcast bulb to that class, grab a link, whether it be in a first and last name link or an anonymous link, and then deploy that link to the learners when you're in your faculty meeting, and the learners take it as a anonymous bulb, or maybe you're collecting their first and last name, but you're using it for something lower stakes. So if I had to break up the reason that you would use broadcast inside a LMS and outside of the LMS. Inside of the LMS is when you're wanting that assignment to have a gradebook item, and it's a higher stakes learning opportunity. The broadcast outside of the LMS, just a random link, um, that is a lower stakes learning opportunity. Maybe it's more for like public engagement, or maybe it's more for faculty engagement that doesn't need authentication. Because again, the LMS is what's going to give you that authentication to the learner profile or the learner experience. Here on the left-hand side, you're kind of seeing the difference there. So here, the broadcast bulb, this is the screen that you see. So as an instructor, this is going to be what you are seeing. You're going to see that if you have launched and you have gotten into the broadcast, that it is going to list the learners as they come into the LMS, click on the broadcast assignment. You're going to see their names and and the total numbers start popping up here. The reason that you're going to see this screen, if you've assigned your broadcast link through the LMS, is because you have not started the broadcast bulb yet. So that is one really initial feature that shows the learner that you, as the instructor, are controlling the pace, meaning that they are going to see on their screen that the instructor is live, the broadcast has not started. But their job is to kind of get loaded into the broadcast so that when you click start, the bulb begins. So until you're ready to click start, all of the learners and their job is going to be to get logged in to the broadcast bulb so that you can click start and get ready to go. All right. The right is showing you a view of the demo that we're going to do here in just a moment. What's going to happen when you assign a broadcast bulb outside of an LMS. So if you assign outside of the LMS, you need to remember to toggle your settings for how you would like to assign your bulb. Have a QR code, do not require login. You're going to copy this link and drop it in the chat if you want. But this is for instances where the learner is not accessing the assignment through their LMS. So also think about how, like, point of access. So sometimes the LMS workflow is also best if you are wanting learners to be able to access the broadcast experience through their device, their laptop, versus their phone. Because if you think about showing a QR code with the non-LMS workflow, it's much easier to take your device and scan a QR code. So it's not that you ultimately can't allow for that also. Like, the learner can certainly log into their Canvas app on their phone and access the broadcast bulb through their phone to get into the assignment. But that would be probably most seamless for their device. All right. Or I should say their laptop, excuse me. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started with the live demo. Here is going to be what we do. I'm going to do two things. I am not going to fully link the assignment in Canvas, but I'm going to show you the flow. I'm having a little bit of an internet issue, and so I was figuring out earlier that sometimes when I go to like fully link the assignment in Canvas, I just like lose bandwidth. So I'm going to show you that flow, and then we're going to come back here, and I'm going to actually fully demo the outside of the LMS, and you're going to have an opportunity to be a learner. So we're going to go and I'm not going to create a new bulb. I'm actually going to just access an old bulb. And then I'm going to create a class, assign this bulb to the class, to our test class. And then I'm going to pull the broadcast link and I'm going to share that link with you. All right, so let me hop over to Canvas. If you are a Schoology user, D2L user, Blackboard user, any of all of the other LMSs that we love, it's just that Canvas is going to be the most cooperative for me today. And I know we have a lot of Canvas users on the call, so I was hoping that this would be the most relatable. So I'm going to go ahead and begin the assignment flow here, but I am going to give you just a moment because I do know that we have a few users that need to probably take a minute to either log into their LMS or log into their PlayPosit account. You can do either or both. Okay. Just for time's sake, we're going to go ahead and get started. But again, if you have any questions, Dylan is here in the chat. He's completely awesome. He will help you. And if you need to, you always have that interactive handout that I shared at the beginning that will also allow for you to um, check out some of the tutorials, the video tutorials that are very, very in depth. So let's go ahead and get started. So I am in Canvas and I am under assignments. Great thing here is this is not a new flow. This flow is the same exact workflow that you use whenever you are assigning a bulb that is self-paced. There's going to quite literally be one differentiating factor between linking a bulb as a self-paced bulb or linking a bulb as a broadcast bulb. And so you're going to hopefully see that in just a few moments, how easy it is. So I'm going to give this a name, and maybe it's going to be live lecture number 2. That's just going to be the name of my assignment. So here I'm going to follow that same flow of finding my external tool, choosing PlayPosit. No matter where you're at, you're going to have that PlayPosit living under your external tools in your LMS. It may not be named exactly what mine was, but that's because I'm in a test environment. And we're just going to go ahead and enter into PlayPosit. So again, this is not, for those of you that were 2s and 3s, this is not a new screen. This is not a new flow. You know that this is where you go to build PlayPosit content, to link PlayPosit content. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and I actually already had this one bulb here ready to go, but of course you could search for the bulb if you're wanting to figure out which one you're wanting to test link. You could also build a new bulb. So like if you wanted to add a new bulb and build it from scratch for the broadcast view, you could. I'm going to go ahead and click select bulb link. And here is that step that is extremely important. You probably have overlooked this every time you've linked a bulb in the past, just because our CSMs do such an awesome job of supporting you guys by making sure that you know that self-paced is selected when you are wanting asynchronous learning assignments to be taken in PlayPosit. But for broadcast, you're actually going to toggle this learner experience nest here, and you're going to select live broadcast. So I'll do that one more time just so you can see how easy that is. So you can drop down, live broadcast. So again, you're just making sure that you have selected your live broadcast. Okay, and then you're going to select link. All right, and that is where my assignment gets a little tricky here. So now what I'm going to do, my Canvas gets a little tricky, is I believe this is a previous assignment that broadcast assignment that I um, linked into PlayPosit, so it won't take so much bandwidth for me to show you this. So something that you're probably noticing when you link the broadcast assignment in your LMS, there are three tabs here that are familiar to you because they're the same three tabs that appear when you link a self-paced bulb: monitor, CSV download, and preview. There's only one new button, the blue broadcast button. And the blue broadcast button is the button that you select when you are ready to go live. So when you click broadcast, and this is just a demo, so hopefully this loads. Okay. So please don't engage don't engage with this. But just take this as like a quick view of what the broadcast setup looks like when you have linked a bulb through the LMS. So again, if there were users out there that were in my LMS class and they knew that we were getting ready, they were in the lecture hall, they knew that we were getting ready to begin the broadcast live together, I would let them log into the bulb, start the bulb, and then or begin coming into the bulb. Their names would appear here. And then when I am ready, I would click start and the bulb would begin and the video would begin playing. Learners would begin seeing those interactions pop up on their devices. One note that I realized you may be wondering is when a broadcast bulb is being taken by a student, there is nothing on their device when the video is playing. So it is very clear to the learner that when the bulb is playing at the front of the lecture hall or in the classroom, that their attention is to be on the screen watching the video, and then on the device is where the learner answers the questions. So again, uh, very, I guess, clear that the learner is supposed to be watching the video content on the screen and answering the interactions on their phone. Just really quickly, for the sake of already being in the LMS, I thought I'd show you this really quickly. So you already saw what the instructor view looked like. This is a test student view of when a broadcast bulb is linked within a LMS, within Canvas or D2L or Schoology. The learner typically sees a big play button when there is a self-paced bulb linked within the LMS. Here you're seeing that it says the instructor is online. That's because I'm already here in the assignment, waiting for my learners to enter. And you can't see it here, but basically being on this screen would have my number or my name showing for my instructor. So as a test student, it won't show you that, but this is what the learners will see when there's a broadcast assignment linked. All right, so let's go ahead and switch gears. We're now going to check out the broadcast demo for linking a bulb without an LMS, so linking a bulb outside of the LMS. I was originally going to have everyone here on the call engage with the broadcast as a learner, but for the sake of that's not necessary. So for the sake of time, since we are at the like 11-minute mark, I'm going to go ahead and demo this, and then I'll just open the floor up for questions at the end. So, like I mentioned before, there is a tab here on your left-hand side when you are logged into your PlayPosit account that you may or may not have used or seen before. So here on the left-hand side, you're going to see a classes tab. So where the LMS serves as a way to collect all that learner data and a place for you to assign that broadcast assignment, your PlayPosit classes tab is where you're actually going to assign your broadcast bulb. So I'm going to go ahead and you can already see that I have my Canvas course that is popping up here, but I'm going to build January broadcast webinar 2025 class. So here you see this class. Now I'm going to go back to my bulbs. Like I said before, any of the bulbs that you have ever created, you can make a broadcast bulb. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to assign this broadcast demo that I made to the class. So here's my January broadcast webinar class, and I'm putting in a random date, expiration date, I should say. And I'm going to go ahead and click link. And this is a very important step. So something that you want to be sure of is that you have selected the way in which you're wanting your learners to engage with this bulb. So just like you're setting up an outside of the LMS self-paced bulb, you're setting up an outside of the LMS broadcast bulb. So I don't want my learners to have to, I don't want them to have to log into their PlayPosit account, and I certainly do not want them to have to enter their first and last name. So maybe I'm using this for a very, again, low stakes data collection. Maybe I'm wanting feedback from my learners as an instructor. This would be a great way to, at the end of the semester, deploy an evaluation broadcast bulb where learners are live and in the classroom, but you are assigning a bulb outside of the LMS so the learners feel comfortable in real time getting you evaluation data without having their name or their Canvas identifier or their D2L identifier tied to their responses. So now that I have do not require login, do not require learner name, I'm just going to click copy and I'm going to hang on to that link. All right, when I am ready, you're going to see here that that bulb is now assigned and is living up under the January broadcast webinar class. So I'm going to click on the thumbnail of this bulb and you'll see that there are things that you can do here, but the most important thing to do to note here is that you can collaborate and add those TAs if there are those substitutes that are in the license, if they're covering your class. This is also where you're going to monitor the grade book after the broadcast experience is wrapped. So just wanted to show you that here. It's where all the responses are going to load in as well. And let's head back to find that bulb in your bulb library. All right, from here, we're going to click broadcast. And we're going to make sure that we are launching the broadcast in the right class. So here I see my broadcast button, and I'm going to go ahead and click broadcast. Okay, so you'll see that you are going to do this again. But if you wanted to share out that link in advance, you could, the one that you copied, or you could just very simply retoggle those pieces, those settings here. Again, show QR code and then copy. And then if you all were going to engage with this, which it looks like we have about 6 minutes left, so I think that I think I'll give you guys a chance to just maybe see. We probably won't get far into it, but since we do have 6 minutes left, I will drop the link in the chat. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take this link and put this link into an incognito window or a guest browser. So somewhere that your PlayPosit cache and cookies are not identifying you. So somewhere that it is a clean browser access point. If you have a device, you could certainly scan this QR code that is here on the screen. So you can either click copy and paste that link that I just put into the chat, or you can scan the QR code. And it looks like I already have 2 learners, 3 learners that are in my bulb. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 learners. Okay. I'll see if we get to 10, and once we get to 10, I think that I will go ahead and begin the bulb. Okay, so we have 10 learners. Maybe our class size is 10. I'm gonna say, let's go ahead, our class size is 11. Let's go ahead and start the broadcast experience. So if you're still trying to get in, maybe just hang tight and watch the demo as we move forward. So what you should be seeing on your screen, this bulb was built with the first thing being an interaction versus a video starting. So what you will notice is there's a question on your screen. You all have already given me my answers. I can show analytics if I wanted to. I can hide the analytics. I can hide the learner responses. I can take this off of your screen, and as you just saw, the question disappeared. Or I can re-release the question for you to continue answering. That is very useful if you are, for instance, watching learner answers come in and a lot of them are incorrect. You could pull the question and say, you know, 6 of our 17 students have already answered, but I do need to give you some scaffolding so that the rest of you have some better context to be informed when you answer. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click play. The experience, the expected experience now is that you look at my screen that I am sharing with you to watch the video, and then on your device, there will be another question in just a bit. Okay, so now on your screen, you're seeing a check all interaction that should be showing. I'm sure that you probably weren't hearing my audio. I apologize for that. I don't think that when I shared in StreamYard, I shared with audio, but that's just a very small piece. Actually, that's a best practice to remember. If you are doing this remotely, as I am, you will want to be sure that when you share your screen, whether it be in the LMS or outside of the LMS, that you share your audio if there's audio on your bulb. So thank you to those of you that are answering the check all interaction. I can see your answers and combinations of answers coming in. I can see the actual analytics that are also here. I'm going to go ahead and click play again. I'm sorry that this is probably silent for you on your end. So something that I'll show you here is that I can pause this as the instructor. This is where I can add additional commentary and the learner is listening. An additional idea here is this is where you pass out a worksheet or you pass out another activity. And then once the learners finish that activity, they come back together and you finish the broadcast. So again, the instructor is in full control of the experience. Um, so just for time's sake, I'm going to jump us to the end. And I think that that's probably going to show you the knowledge check question that should be on your screen. Um, Again, I can control this entire experience. So as the instructor, you're in charge. All right, so that is broadcast, and the grade book is going to show us all of your data. That will be the last thing that we do here is I'll just show you how you can view those responses outside of the LMS. So here I have all of my users. I have in status in progress because I didn't close you out. But here's the interactions that are a part of the bulb. Here's how you all answered. Again, that's not anything new. If you've been around PlayPosit for a while, you know that the monitor page isn't anything new. It's just additionally available to you with this deployment method. I want to quickly close out by sharing some resources, PlayPosit Academy, webinars, our use case library. I look forward to seeing you all using broadcast, hopefully more so this semester as well. And your CSMs are excited to see you all using broadcast if it fits your needs. Lastly, is that I do just want to make sure that you feel like you have that resource guide to take with you. So I'm going to hopefully pin it here. Um, and I'm also going to just copy so that you can take it with you while you are heading out. But thank you so much for being here. I hope that the session was helpful to you and your curiosities about broadcast. Um, and and Lynn, I see your question. We have many tools like PlayPosit to use now. How do you think that this feature compares to Top Hat or WooClap? I can just say that PlayPosit is unique in the fact that there is the asynchronous. There's the 4 different deployment styles. There's the asynchronous option. There is the broadcast option. There are playlists, and there is peer review. So and then in addition to that, there's learner created bulbs or learner made bulbs where the learner is the creator. So I think the differentiating factor is that there are so many ways that one tool, PlayPosit, can be seamlessly utilized for different learning needs. So while it may not be unique, I think that PlayPosit is a full cycle tool option, whereas like Top Hat and some of these other tools may be doing one deployment style really well, but PlayPosit has multiple options for you to deploy content in that way. It is the top of the hour, so I do need to hop, but thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions, I love to see and hear about the early adopters. If you have any questions, please let me know. And I hope you all stay warm, and please reach out to us if you have any questions at all. The contact has been shared here in the chat. Success at wevideo.com is always a great option as well. Thank you guys for being here and have, yeah, success at wevideo.com. Yeah. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much.